Do you know what's in Blacksburg, Virginia? I do. Virginia Tech. So the Hokies last year, if I had to ask you, which I'm going to, somewhat rhetorically, not entirely, what their record was last year, what do you think it was? How many games do you think Virginia Tech football won in 2023? The answer is 7. The year before was 3. So Brent Pry comes over from Penn State a couple years ago where he was defense coordinator, takes over at Virginia Tech, and is attempting to restore them to their once former glory. Now, growing up as a kid, I recall seeing Virginia Tech play in some big games. It's been a while since that's happened. But to say that they're in a conference this year, the ACC, who knows how long it's around, that isn't takeable or isn't gettable, isn't winnable in terms of going over your win total, depending on what that is, I don't think it's true because I think you can do those sorts of things. Now, here's another question. Off a 7-6 season in which the 7th win was picked up in a bowl game against Tulane, who lost their head coach going into that game after losing the American Conference title game, what do you think Virginia Tech's win total is this year? Drumroll, please. 7.5? Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. That's what we'd call a big leap of faith from the odds makers and our friends at FanDuel. So before we get to the schedule, let's assess the body that Virginia Tech is going to be working with in a conference that has plenty of winnable games. So Brent Pry is going into year 3. So far, all we know about him is he's compiled a 10-14 record over 2 seasons. He's 6-9 in conference play. And in year 1, they won 3 games. And in year 2, they more than double that and go up to 7. Now, he came over as a defensive coordinator. So you would think, well, the defense should be pretty darn solid. And given the way that Virginia Tech recruits, which is not exactly top shelf in the conference or anywhere near, one of the top recruiting programs in the country, I'd say they do pretty well. Because each of the 2 years he's been there, about 24 points per game. Pretty solid. Now, improvements can always be made there. You could get that closer to 20 points per game. You look at some of their big wins last season, they'd only allow 10 or 17 points. They just had a couple games here and there where it perhaps got away from them. Now, Virginia Tech has not hammered the transfer portal this year, but Brent Pry very much wants to have that continue to be the focus for his football program because 3 of those 4 transfers are on the defensive side of the ball. One of them is a former 4-star from Oklahoma who's going to Virginia Tech. Brought in another defensive lineman, another linebacker, and then an offensive lineman, and that's it. That's the entire transfer portal class. That's not going to blow anybody away. But Vegas doesn't set lines by accident. So then I kept diving into the Hokies, thinking, well, okay, they got something to work with here. There's a foundation. There's an identity on that side of the ball. Oh, what have we here? Do you know the name Kyron Drones? Well, if you're in the ACC, you probably do. If you're not, you might this year if the Hokies play up to their full potential. Because Drones began his career at Baylor, spent a couple of years there, wasn't working out, decides to transfer, and in his first year as a starting quarterback, he played mop-up duty or spot roles at Baylor, and then he goes to Virginia Tech. He gets the starting job, and he takes it and he runs with it, pun intended. Because he gained, they factor in sacks as lost rushing yards, which I think is dumb. If you don't do that, Kyron Drones ran for over 1,000 yards last year. He was Virginia Tech's leading rusher. There aren't that many guys in the country who can do that from the quarterback position. Jaden Daniels did it at LSU. Yeah. You run short on that list pretty quickly. I'm sure there are other quarterbacks here and there, and people let me know in the comments section, but that is not a feat easily accomplished, particularly at a power conference institution like Virginia Tech. So he's got his same offensive coordinator, Tyler Bowen, who's going into his 3rd year, who came over with Brent Pry from Penn State, going into his 3rd year as the head coach. Your quarterback, who completed just 58% of his passes last year, but showcased the playmaking and mobility. And oh, by the way, did I mention the way that he protected the football last year? 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Now, those numbers are not going to get him an invite to New York City, but it was good enough to get Virginia Tech back to relevance, to competency at that position. And typically when you have a head coach and an offensive coordinator that can work with the same quarterback for an entire offseason and then go into this next season knowing he's going to be the guy and not having to have any questions or doubts or debate about that because they didn't bring in some high-level transfer. They're going, we don't need to explore the transfer market. We got our guy right here. That's a significant advantage. What, for all you everydayers out there, I appreciate you very much, whether you're on YouTube or on podcast, what is my consistent rule about college football teams? I always and forever favor towards and very much lean towards picking and liking teams that return the coach and the quarterback. And if you got the offensive coordinator, that's the trifecta from good teams. And you have that here with Virginia Tech. So you got a defensive identity with a defensive coach, returning OC, productive quarterback, going into his second year as a starter who takes care of the football through the air. That is a heck of a foundation to start off with. And let's get to the schedule, because this is the other reason that Virginia Tech's win total is higher, I'd imagine, than it's been in some time. So I'm just going to run through a couple games that stand out. I'm just going to list all the 12 games, each and every one, and you tell me, based on everything that we just talked about, or I talked about and you listen, but you know what? It's conversation. Mailbag's always open. YouTube comments or S. McLaughlin CFB on Twitter. Hit me up anytime. You tell me which one clicks in your head as, nope, they can't win that game. At Vanderbilt, Marshall, at Old Dominion, Rutgers, at Miami, at Stanford, Boston College, Georgia Tech, fun battle of the Techs there, at Syracuse, Clemson, at Duke, Virginia. Which of those games in your mind is there's no way Virginia Tech could win that game? Don't give me Clemson and don't give me Miami, because guess what? I think that Clemson and Miami should be the favorites in those games. But to say they couldn't win, I don't buy it. Why? Because Miami has got a big win total this year. That's just 2 games higher than Virginia Tech, by the way. But let's put that aside for just a moment. Miami's home field advantage has not been impossible, not been the greatest thing in college football over the last couple of years. You talk about the fan support that they get down there. But if they start winning games, I suspect that will change very quickly for Mario Cristobal and company. But do I trust Mario Cristobal implicitly as an in-game coach? Not 100% of the time. Do I like Cam Ward? A lot. You know what else I know about Cam Ward? If you disrupt him a little bit, he'll give you the football. So you bring in a good defensive mind like Brent Pry, I'm just saying, I don't know that I would even pick Virginia Tech to win or cover in that game. But to say that in my head, I went, no, they could never win that. Nope, that didn't happen. And then there's Clemson. Clemson's kind of a mystery team this year because they were 9-4, but now you're going to year 2 with Garrett Riley. You've got Cade Klubnik back. They've got that magical trio, coach, quarterback, offensive coordinator, all 3 back for the Clemson Tigers. Oh, did I mention that Enter Sandman is going to be played before that game kicks off because it's in Blacksburg? Yeah, don't tell me that they can't win that game. I've seen crazier things happen. Yeah, Duke's a good team, but, first-year head coach, first-year starting quarterback with Malik Murphy coming over from Texas. Really good addition, by the way. I like Manny Diaz. I like Malik Murphy. But is that out of the realm of possibility for Virginia Tech? No, it's not. I think this will come down to the Hokies because I bet you they're favored in that game against Virginia at the end of the year. They could be favored when they go at Syracuse. Boy, that game on October 26th, let me tell you, against Georgia Tech, the battle of the Techs in the ACC, the winner of that game may very well decide who goes over their win total and who goes under. Georgia Tech, let me just double check this real quick. I believe their win total is 5.5. Indeed, it is. And Virginia Tech is 7.5. That game may very well decide who's over, in Georgia Tech's case, whether or not they make a bowl game, or in Virginia Tech's case, whether they surpass their win total on the season just in the regular season. So this schedule, completely workable. I think the 2 games on this schedule, got to watch out for. Cannot overlook. Number 1, at Stanford on October 5th. Crazy things have happened on the farm in college football before. Would not overlook that game if you asked me to. And the other one, at Syracuse, November 2nd. Kyle McCord is a Syracuse quarterback. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. New head coach and a new quarterback, but a talented quarterback. Those are the 2 road games I wouldn't sleep on. But there's not a single game on that schedule where I think, oh, they've got no shot. There's no Florida State on that schedule either. You did not mishear me. That in and of itself is a little bit of a break, and one that Virginia Tech could be poised to take advantage of. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.